Hello everyone. I'm Harish. I'm working as a software consulting engineer in Cisco for close to like 4 years. So I'm a customer experience Bangalore, where my primary focus is on network orchestration and automation domain, where I actively engage in developing and testing NSO service packages for different requirements and various customers, especially focusing on the European regions. So today I'll be co-presenting with Rahul Prashant, where we'll be focusing on specific problems faced by NSO developers, especially by the NSO Python developers, and we're going to see how do we over tackle that.
Hi everyone, this is Rahul. I have been working in Cisco for last 4 years as a consulting engineer, handling US enterprise customers as well as leading all the commercial customers from CX Center Bangalore. I am more passionate in automation and innovation. So I have given many trainings and I have taken a session in the Cisco Live conference in Jan 2020 Barcelona. And this is my second conference and I'm so excited to give you a session on this. Looking forward to give the session. So first half of the session will be taken by Harish and I will be taking the second part of the session.
Thank you, Rahul. So before diving into the topic, I'd like to start with a simple question. So what is the most frustrating thing that can happen to a developer? So it could be any developer, not only Python, it could be any developer, Java, Ruby, anything. So let me answer this question by sharing an experience of mine. So I joined in Cisco back in 2K16 as a college grad. So in the initial few months, so we had to undergo few trainings on different technologies and then on NSO trainings. And after this, I was finally assigned to a project. So it was a huge customer with a complicated use case where the service code was developed by a different company. So it was not Cisco. Then Cisco took the ownership of their service packages, and my job was to work on top of it. The service package was written in a Java code, so which contained thousands and thousands of lines of code with poor readability and modularity. So I struggled really hard in understanding what the code does and had to spend like weeks in getting a better idea what the package does. Now coming back to my question. So what's the most frustrating thing that can happen to a developer? Yes, it's definitely reading others' code. It's the developer's nightmare. Now that we understood the problem statement, let me walk you through how can we tackle this by following certain guidelines called the Zen of Python, which helps not only the NSO Python developers, but any developers who programs in Python. Okay. Yeah. So now what is this Zen of Python? So it is a set of 19 guidelines or aphorisms, or sometimes it's called a poem, which was written back in 1990s by Tim Peters. So this poem has served as a mini style guide for Python coders for over a decade, and you can easily conjure it by casting the spell in your Python interpreter. So every time you need not do a Google search on this, instead you can open your Python interpreter and you can give this import this statement. So this will list all your aphorisms. Now let's take a look at them one by one. So the first aphorism is beautiful is better than ugly. So more often, developers write code by keeping time and space efficiency in mind, but rarely about readability. So there's absolutely no harm in sacrificing a little bit of optimization for readability. So if you take a look at the first code, so it has like three for loops. So these are the three for loops here, and there is an if condition at the end, and also it has a function called here, the process of item. So all these operations are performed using list comprehension, which may look like a good thing, but readability is heavily affected here. So as Python developers, we find it really cool in writing a list comprehensions where we could club multiple operations just a single line. But writing such code in scenarios like this has a downside in understanding the code. So how do we improve this? Now here, the same piece of code is written in multiple steps. First, the entire operation is moved into a single function called select correct items, and the loops are properly nested here. First, which makes it more readable. Here too, I've used a list comprehension here, which is absolutely fine as long as it doesn't affect the readability. Now moving on to the next aphorism.
1 minute. Harish.
Yeah.
So here the first solution that you showed, the list comprehension, that looks like a simpler solution, but the second one, which is where the code is segregated into multiple lines, which is something seeming complicated. So why is that so?
Okay, so that's really a good question. So actually it's up to the developers to decide which one needs to be compromised. It's either readability or the simplicity. So in this aphorism, readability is heavily affected here. So we decided to go for a better solution, though simplicity is sacrificed. So we'll be looking at a different aphorism later stage, where we'll be talking about how to write a simpler code. So that one might answer your question.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Second aphorism is explicit is better than implicit. Now take a look at this code. So I imported a syn function here from the math library. And I also have my own syn function defined here. Now when I call this function using print of syn of 1, which one is executed? The answer here is the user-defined function over here, which is the defined syn of a. But this creates a confusion for whoever is looking at the code. Now, how do we avoid this? To avoid this, take a look at the second part of the snippet. So here, instead of importing this syn function from the math library, we can write something like this. So we can simply import the math statement, the math library, and we can issue a statement like math.syn of 1. Now this avoids any confusion for anyone who's looking at the code. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide. So this is a combination of two aphorisms, so meaning the same. Simple is better than complex, and complex is better than complicated. Okay. So the first snippet. Yeah. I have a string I love Cisco here, and I wanted to reverse the string. So I'm using a recursive function here. So I'm passing the string as an argument. The string is taken as an input and reverse it in a recursive manner. Now, do we really need to write a recursive function to simply reverse a string? Now take a look at the second snippet. It's just one line of code here, which does the same operation as that of the recursive function. So here the aphorism tries to tell you that if you have a simple solution in hand, then simply go for it instead of making it complicated. So that's what the aphorism tries to teach you. So here this is somewhat contradicting with the first aphorism, which is beautiful is better than ugly, where here we need to attain the simplicity here. Even though we sacrifice some kind of readability here, but simplicity is given the higher weightage. Okay, so it's really up to the developer's choice to choose between which aphorism to be implemented at which point of time. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide. Flat is better than nested. So here, if you take a look at this code, this piece of code has a single function. So this identity of animal, which contains multiple nested conditions in it. So we have like if else, and inside if else condition, we have another if else. So the function performs a variety of checks inside, which can be simply modularized like this. Now, by taking a look at this snippet, it gives a clear picture what is being done by the code by modularizing them instead of putting it all together in a single function. Okay. Yeah. Now moving on to the next slide. Sparse is better than dense. So programmers often like to cram as much functionality into as little code as possible, such as one coders like this. While code like this may impress your friends or colleagues, but it will infuriate your co-workers who have to try to understand it. So how can we refactor this? How can we make it better? So this can be refactored into this one. So the same print statement is now written in a simple manner. The aphorism tries to teach you that code that is spread out over multiple lines is often easier to read than dense one-liners. So hence the aphorism sparse is better than dense. Okay. Now moving on to the next one, readability counts. Yes, readability definitely counts. Almost all the aphorisms focus around this point, and this aphorism here stresses even more on readability. So is it possible to write a perfect readable code that everybody can understand? Absolutely not. But we can always strive for the near perfection. Now take a look at this code. So what we have here. So we have a function named check. Okay, which is being called by the main function. And internally in this function, we run some loops here. And yeah, now take a look at this one. This function is named as check today's birthdays, which is self-explanatory for anybody who is looking at the code. The Python code also has neatly written comments, so here, and beautiful variable names. So instead of reading the lines of code like you did in the first snippet to understand what the code does, by using an appropriate function name, people can save a considerable amount of time here. So people no need to go through each line of code individually. Instead, they can get the idea what the code does by simply looking at the function names or the variable names. Okay. So the next aphorism, the special cases aren't special enough to break the rules, although practicality beats purity. So these two aphorisms, which comes as a set, they contradict each other. So programming is full of best practices that programmers should strive for in their code. Skirting these practices for a quick hack may be tempting, but can lead to a rat's nest of inconsistent, unreadable code. However, bending over backwards to adhere to rules can result in highly abstract, unreadable code. So now take a look at the first snippet. So we have a class here with few getters and setters, a constructor and a function. So all these just to perform a simple add operation. So it's always a good practice to use object-oriented concepts, but do we really need to implement a class to just perform an addition of two numbers? So that's what the aphorism practicality beats purity tries to teach us. So in time, you will not only learn the rules, but also learn when to break them. Okay. Yeah. So this snippet in the right hand side is a much simpler solution compared to the first one. Okay. So yeah. Next one. Errors should never pass silently. Now take a look at the first snippet. Here the function does a simple divide operation. Now before dividing, it does a check if the denominator is 0 so that it's a valid operation or not. Now if the denominator is 0, none is returned, and else the value of the division operator is returned. Now where is the problem here? You know that b is invalid when it takes the value 0, but still the function returns none instead of terminating the program. Now due to this implementation, the value none is returned and the program continue to run and may crash later. So to overcome this, so we modify this function in a different way. So in the second snippet, now the code raises an exception here. So it raises a divide by 0 exception, which allows the program to fail immediately. The underlying principle of this aphorism is that it's better for a program to fail fast and crash than to silence the error and continue running the program. The bugs that inevitably happen later on will be harder to debug since they are far removed from the original cause. Okay. Now coming to the next aphorism, unless explicitly silenced. So this is a continuation of the previous aphorism. Errors should never pass silently unless explicitly silenced. Okay. If you look at this first snippet, an exception is explicitly thrown here if the key is not present in the value. So here the value is a dictionary, and if this key is not present in the dictionary, an exception is thrown. So this is in accordance with the previous aphorism, but sometimes there could be scenarios when you have an opportunity to handle these exceptions instead of crashing the program. So error handling in Python is done using a try except block, where the handling part is done inside an except block. So here the error is handled by assigning a value 10 to this value to this dictionary value of key if key is not present. So you can also have a multiple except blocks to catch multiple exceptions, and each of them are handled separately. Because this is all explicit, it is possible for someone to read the code and understand which exceptional conditions are recoverable.
Hey Harish, I have a question here.
Yeah.
Can you tell me when should an exception be raised and it should crash the program, and when should it be caught and handled?
Okay. So it all depends on the problem statement and the requirement. So if you take a look at the first scenario, the first snippet, you're instructing the program to cache. So the previous aphorism, you're instructing the program to crash if the denominator is 0, as this cannot be handled using an except block. So if this is silently passed, it might lead into serious problems later in the program. But whereas in the second scenario, you know how to handle the exception. So you enclose the code within a try except block where you can handle the exception. So hence here you are suppressing the exception in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we are halfway through our session, and rest of the aphorisms will be handled by Rahul Prashant.
So yeah, I'm going to guide you through with the next set of principles. So next is, in the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. So you can see a post there, right? Dude, what would happen? That should not be the case, right? So every time you write a code, it should not be the case. What will happen? What will be the output? What would be printed on the screen? Always it should not be in this sense, right? So make it simple, easier. So this idea is to make code more elegant, readable, and explicit. But say you can see the example here, if not A and B. So you can argue that a professional programmer will be well aware of this precedence of operators. So the programmer knows this. So he don't want to be ambiguous. So he knows the answer. Yeah, correct. But can this ambiguity be avoided for all the programmers? So that's why just we avoid this ambiguity, don't want to do all these operations, keep it simple. So that's what this principle says. So avoid the ambiguity and keep it simple. Okay. Next one, there should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do it. Say for example, for a particular problem, if there is a many ways to implement it, right? You will be in a confusion. How I should do it that way or I should do this way. Finally, you have to decide to do in which way, and then you have to implement it, right? Rather than if you have only one way, it's very simple. You go and implement it. So that's why you can see a post there. There is only one way. Go straight in this road to reach your destination. So yeah, so that's what in Perl programming, you will have always a more than one way. Use a prefix operator or a postfix. Sometimes you will be a confusion to use which operator, postfix or prefix, right? So Python solves this very simple way, just not supporting all them together, those operators and all. Just only simple way, you implement yourself, don't use any operators. So just only one way to do it. Okay. So next one, although that way may not be obvious at first unless you are a Dutch. So basically this is because creator of Python, he's Dutch. So he made Python very simple, right? So you can see an example here where first line is C program. So you write a condition, then if it is true, the first expression is executed. Otherwise false, the next expression too is executed. Why this much complex? Come to Python, who is a Dutch who created that. Not only Dutch, right? Even myself, when I'm not a Dutch, I like this way. Just write a expression condition, put if condition, if it is yes, yeah, execute the if condition, else execute the else condition. It's very simple and straightforward. Rather than we need to understand the first line, right? Whether expression 1 will be executed or expression 2 will be executed. Why so much confusion? Make it very simple. Just if condition or else condition. That's what Python does, and it was found by Dutch. So this way may not be obvious for you unless you are a Dutch. That's this principle. It's yeah. That's very simple. So next, now is better than never, although never is often better than right now. So why this statement is right? You can see the post there. Better now than never. We should make it done and see than waiting for so long and nothing is happening, right? So you can see it's almost certainly better to wait your program to finish than to finish it early with incorrect results. So for example, code that hangs or gets caught in infinite loops is obviously worst, right? Than code doesn't, and it will take some more time to finish and give you the proper output. So better now, even if it's late, you get a proper output, that's fine. So it's best to start today rather than procrastinating endlessly. But project never undertaken might still be a better than hastily executed one. So rather executing now and making incorrect results, better wait for long and get an accurate result. Because Python takes some long time to execute in the background. So that's okay, we will get a proper result. Rather than executing wrongly, putting implementation wrongly and give you the wrong results, this is much better to wait and get the result. That's what this guideline says you about. The next. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. If the implementation is easy to explain, it's a good idea. So in the previous guideline, I told you, right? So Python takes a little longer. So most of the programmer tries to do very efficient way of coding to make a high performance coding so that a system runs faster. So that it will be very difficult for a programmer to read it for readability. As Harish already pointed out, readability is most important, right? It's for a program, it's always difficult to read what other programmers already wrote the code. So we should not see about high performance code. We should see how it's readable, how it's easy to understand, right? To make the programmer job easier rather than making the computer job easier, because computer will run even if the code is difficult or code is easy, but programmer won't understand if code is difficult, it's not readable, right? So make it simple for coder programmer rather than making simple for computer. So that's what this principle says you. Python strives to make a programmer job easier rather than accommodating for a computer running program run faster. Okay. Next, the last guideline is namespaces. Namespaces are one honking great idea. Let's do more of namespaces, right? Use namespaces. So namespace is basically collection of names. Different names can coexist at a given time, but are completely isolated from each other. So these will help us creating a system in Python that prevents the names in one module from conflicting names in another. So this helps creating namespace, but you have to keep it in mind in this. As Harish already pointed out this, right? Flat is better than nested. So namespace should only use to prevent naming conflicts, not to force unnecessary categorization. Don't create a categorization and make it nested. Just keep it flat and use namespace only to avoid the conflicts between the functions. Yeah, so these are all the different guidelines for the Python. So if you are, as Harish pointed out, this is for NSO developers or for any other developer who uses Python, these are all the guidelines. So as a concluding day, I can say that you can see this post, I'm the best in the world at what I do. So that's what Python does. So whatever Python does, it does its best. It gives you more readable way. It helps you programmer rather than helping out system. It makes the implementation more readable and makes it easier way to implement rather than writing too much of code. So the underlying main philosophy remains, right? Practicality beats purity. So based on our problem, our practical solution, how to implement it, we can use a Python. And this is one thing, right? So always we can argue against each other. So these are all the guidelines, right? These opinions can be against for another programmer, So as we saw in this entire presentation, many of the principles seems to be contradict each other. But unless someone writes a full of programming best practices, still we will be continue arguing the principles against each other. But yeah, as I said, the Python does what it does best. It can do it and give for the programmers. So that's it. So we are going to end the session. So guys, if any questions, please feel free to ask. Harish, you have anything to add?
Nothing from my side, Rahul. Yeah. So thanks everyone. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Harish.
Thank